Despite its delicate economic situation, Brazil makes a good impression abroad with new rules for investment funds. I am Mitchell Diniz, and this is São Paulo Direct by Dukascopy TV. And I'm here with Giorgio Subiotto, partner of the global law firm Ogier. Giorgio, what's your view on Brazilians' new rules for funds?
Well, I've always thought that the CVM was actually a very progressive regulator, in that it's always tried to balance the regulation without overburdening the market. And I think that these latest sets of regulations are simply a further evidence of this concern that the CVM has, and it probably is good news for the market overall.
Do you think that regulatory changes in Brazil are coping with the trends worldwide?
Absolutely. I have always said that the Brazilian financial industry is among the most sophisticated in the world, given its history, having to deal with hyperinflation and the like. And in terms of the worldwide compliance, Brazil has shown itself to be at the forefront in terms of its implementation of US FATCA by signing, I think it has now signed US Model 1 IGA, and by its adherence to the OECD Common Reporting Standards, which will be coming in 2018. So in terms of, overall worldwide compliance standards, it seems to me that Brazil is completely up to date and following the trend.
Now, these rules are supposed to stimulate offshore funds in Brazil. Do you think that the country can be a major player in that market?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm based in the Cayman Islands, and I have been coming to Brazil now since, my firm has been active in Brazil since '94, and I personally have been coming here certainly since 2002. And historically, we've had a very close relationship with Brazil. In fact, Banco do Brasil, now we're diverging a bit, but Banco do Brasil has one of the oldest banking licenses in Cayman, which evidences that the close relationship that Brazil and Cayman always have had. In terms of funds, we've seen a massive increase in funds from Brazilian funds from 2000 for the whole decade, and actually a continued use of certainly Cayman by Brazilian managers and family offices alike. Sure, the flows have changed a little bit. Historically, we were setting up funds mainly to attract foreign capital to be brought into Brazil. Since 2008 and 2009, we've sort of seen the reverse slightly, with funds being set up to channel investments by Brazilian funds or by Brazilian individuals. So I think that hopefully these regulations, although they do provide some restrictions for certain types of funds that must commit to invest 67% of their assets abroad, they have, on the other hand, the regulations have, on the other hand, increased the ability for other funds to increase their allocation to foreign funds, double in many cases.
Right now, there are some asset managements and family offices getting ready to invest abroad. Some of them, for the first time. What do they have to know about the global scenario?
Well, I think they probably know enough about the global scenario without requiring any advice from me. As I said, I do think that the Brazilian financial market is among the most sophisticated in the world. And certainly we have a number of Brazilian managers that have been operating very successfully in the international markets for a number of years now. I mean, just look at GP, and Jorge Paulo Lehmann, just as an example. I mean, in terms of structuring, I think, it is important for, the one advice I always have for clients that are accessing international markets is just to keep it simple. Keep a close eye on costs, because costs are one thing that will not go down and are one thing that you will be able to predict year on year. Profits, you will not, or revenues, you will not always be able to predict. So it's important from the outset to really keep an eye on costs and keep those expense ratios under control.
Would you have any other tip to give to those investors that were used to put their money inside the country? I mean, are there assets abroad that are more recommendable for them?
Well, it's difficult to say because for each person, a certain level of diversification is required. So it really depends on what on what their personal situation is. I would say that what we are seeing in the Cayman Islands in the fund industry is a continuing attraction for very plain vanilla long-short equity strategies. I think there has been a shift from maybe US equities more to European and Asian equities. The other strategy that seems to be in vogue right now is credit investment in creation of debt funds for investment in debt, in particular distressed debt coming out of Europe.
Mitchell Diniz to São Paulo Direct by Dukascopy TV.